Alright, hey guys, so today I'm going to just show you a few tools as a refresher for your photo editing project. You can find this image that I have posted here under attached to the website, saved as Activity3 EeditingExercise. Right, so I'm going to have you play around with this image and just get used to using tools that maybe we haven't used in a while. Okay. The first thing that you're going to do before I'll show you over here, before you do anything is you're going to want to duplicate your layer of the woman. Okay, so you're going to want to duplicate this. You never really want to work in this copy. You always want to have just a backup copy just in case. So I'm going to work in my background copy, and any of my changes I make will be here. If I made a mistake and I wanted to start over, I always have that other copy saved. So the first tool that I want to show you is your color correction tools. Right, so remember you have your color correction tools located on the right side of your screen. Tools that I've gone over with you that I said are somewhat important that I would use on a daily basis would be your brightness contrast, your levels, and possibly your hue saturation. You can also find those tools on your layer bar underneath what I like to call the black and white cookie. Okay. Color correction tools are great. Brightness and contrast and levels work very similarly. They work to make an image lighter or make an image darker. So for levels, you can pull your tabs to make things darker and lighter depending on the image. I'm going to delete that. Brightness contrasts works in a similar way. You can brighten your image. You can add contrast to your image. Hue saturation. If I want to add change color, let's say you wanted to make yourself look like a green monster, you can do that by changing the hue. You could also up the saturation if you had an image that you wanted to make brighter or take color out of. You can do that as well. And you can also lighten slightly and darken the image slightly. But I barely use this. I don't find any point to it. It doesn't really help me in any personal, so it may help you, but it doesn't really help me when I do any color correction. Another cool thing with the color correction tools, you can take your wand tool and maybe I wanted to brighten up her teeth or something. I would probably take my time, a little bit more time with this. And I'm holding the shift key down and selecting all of her teeth. Okay. I'll do that one. Okay. And I'm going to go to levels. And maybe I will try pulling the tab to brighten them. Right? So very subtle adjustments that you might make when you're photo editing. You don't want to do it too extreme because it's going to look very fake. But you can do very subtle changes to highlight something, right? All great for photo editing. So I'll actually keep that there so you can see the difference. Lower the opacity if it's a little bit too much. Okay. The next tool that I want to show you is the stamp tool. So going back to my background copy, the stamp tool is great for a picture like this, for stamping away blemishes, wrinkles, anything of that nature that you don't want. In other images, it might be great for stamping in. When we did our test in the beginning of the year, I had you stamp trees into an image. You can stamp anything into an image, but for the purpose of this, it's great for getting rid of blemishes and wrinkles and so forth. So I thought this picture was great because even though this woman has actually great wrinkles that I think go along with her age and this image, I'm just going to show you how to get rid of them. So your stamp tool works just like your paintbrush, where you can use your brackets to make them bigger or smaller. So holding down the Alt key, okay, you can click on any part of this image. Let's say I wanted to get rid of these wrinkles right here. Okay, so if I held the Alt key down and I clicked and I let go, what I just clicked on, when I move it, it's going to, if you notice, when I put my mouse down, I'm using actually a drawing digital pen, but if I was using my mouse and put my mouse down, you can see there's a little axis that shows up. So it's actually painting whatever's in that place. Okay, but you want to make sure that you're stamping. So I'm doing Alt click, Alt and click, and then I can paint. Okay. You want to make sure that the colors make sense. So if you notice, I'm Alt clicking and I'm Alt and stamping and clicking and picking up from a similar area to get rid of this wrinkle. If I were going to do that and maybe Alt click and stamp here and try and cover up here, notice how those colors are very different. I would not stamp that in that space. So you want to make sure that the colors make sense. With the stamp tool, you can always lower the opacity and the flow and do like lightly. Maybe you don't want to get rid of all of the wrinkles because you don't want to make it look too fake. So you're just slowly not sure if I like what I'm doing here, but you can see that I started to get rid of some of the wrinkles on the side of her face. And the reason that you have your copy is because, oh, guess what, if you wanted that back again, you know, you have your background here that you can go to. All right. The next tool that I wanted to show you was the dodge and burn tool. All right, so we haven't used this in a while. All right, you have your dodge and your burn. So remember, your dodge tool lightens things and your burn tool darkens things. So let's say you had two different images that you wanted to put together and you wanted to make them look believable. And you wanted to make sure highlights were the same and shadows were the same. You might use your dodge tool to add highlights and you might use your burn tool to add shadow. So works the same way as your paintbrush too. If I use my dodge tool, I can change the exposure, so maybe I don't want to make it that much. I can raise the size of my dodge. Maybe I want to add more of a highlight to the side of her face. Oops, what am I on right now? I'm on dodge, or I want to be on dodge. Okay. So I'm dodging it, and you can see that it's slightly highlighting it. Just very subtle, right? All subtle changes. So it highlights it while keeping the image and the detail in the image. Okay. Now if I wanted to add more of a shadow to something, I could go to burn. And I could go in here and say maybe I'm going to, I don't know why I didn't change it. There we go. And it's going to make it even a little bit darker. So it allows me to paint in what it is that I want to darken. So you can see it's very subtle. When you do photo editing, your changes are, most of the time, I would personally say subtle changes. You can have extreme changes, but a lot of times they're just very subtle, but they make that image look way more believable, right? So I can go in and definitely do that. You also have your sharpen and your blur tool. So right here I have blur. Let's say you have two images that you want to put together. One is blurry, one is sharpened. You want to make sure you can even those out. So obviously and naturally your blur tool will make something more blurry, right? So I'm making this ring really blurry. And then your sharpen tool, you can go in and you can make something way more sharper. So maybe I'll make her a little cheekier, way more sharper. Really subtle change, but it is making it sharper. Okay. The last tool that I wanted to show you was the liquefy tool. Okay, so this is a pretty cool tool. I don't think I've really shown you this before. Under filter, you have liquefy. All right, so if you go to liquefy, it's going to pull up a screen. It's just processing right now. Okay. And you can change the size of your paintbrush, the pressure, and so forth. What this will do, we'll do subtle changes. So like that video I showed you last week with the dove evolution, when they stretched out her neck, maybe changed around and adjusted, you know, her eyes and whatever. They used a tool similar to the liquefy tool. So the liquefy tool will push and pull things around. So depending on the size of your paintbrush, it will push and pull things. So if I have a little paintbrush, you can see that it's pushing and pulling little parts of it. That doesn't look believable, right? So in order to make it look believable, you're gonna, well, depending on what you're doing, let's say I wanted to adjust her eyelids a little bit, I might make the paintbrush really big and then go in and slowly, you can see that I have now control over her eye. So maybe I don't want to move her, maybe I want to lift her eye a little bit, but then I want to go up here and really lift the top of her eyelid a little bit more. And I can go in and make my paintbrush a little bit smaller. Maybe I just want to shift this around a little bit. You can see that I'm subtly changing these things. Maybe I want to make her nose, bring it in, bring it out just a little bit. Raise her cheeks a little bit more. See how you can make these subtle changes. Maybe I'm going to fill this out more and then get rid of all those wrinkles if I wanted to make her look a little bit younger. Raise her eye up a little bit. Okay, so you can make all these subtle changes and adjustments by using liquefy tool. Now that doesn't mean to say that you can't use it to have some fun either and do some funny things. Okay, but for the point of the assignment, I want you to try to use it in a way that you can do very subtle things that will be helpful for your actual project. And so once you have down what it is that you want to do, you can hit OK, and it will change it. All right, so basically for this activity, I would like you to experiment with all the tools that I just mentioned. Your color correction, your stamp tool, your dodge and burn, your blur and sharpen, and your liquefy. I will have them written on the board and posted. This way you can also keep track of what it is that you've worked on. Right? So if you have any questions, you can go back through the video or you can ask me individually.